Hey there, everybody. I'm just going to check to see that I am live. It says I'm live, and I'll just going to confirm that as we get started. I hope you are having an amazing day. And yeah, let me just go check, see if I'm popping up here. Yes, I am. All right. Yay, good to go. Okay, welcome. Today we're going to talk about how to get paid what you're worth when you've been stuck at the same level for far too long. Today we're going to talk about why we don't get paid what we're worth, what strategic steps that you can take, and what critical mindset shifts that you need to make in order to change all of this. And so if you have any questions, please pop them in down below, and I'll try and keep up with that. I would love to see that. Any questions. I love answering questions. I'd much rather do it live two-way, but anyways, we are where we're at. Before I get started, my name is Karen Luniw, and my business is called No Limits Business Consulting. And really what I do is I help women in business, so high achieving women who are entrepreneurs or executives, to level up their game. Now, these are already women who have done very well for themselves. And on the face of it, everybody thinks that they've got it all together and whatnot. And they do. They've got a lot of their stuff together. But really, it is all about, they still play a little bit too small. And so really, that's kind of what we're going to talk about today in terms of talking about self-worth. So the first thing really is, and I just also want to make sure that I keep track of my time here. So anyways, I've lost that. Let's just get going. Okay. So really, the first one, why do we not get paid what we're worth? What I found overall is that a lot of women tend to overthink this. They get all kinds of information from everybody else, but overall what stops them from getting paid what they're worth are a number of things, which is their self-worth. Sometimes they feel like they're a fraud, or they're not good enough, or they haven't been doing it long enough, doing what they're doing long enough, that they can't really promise that you're going to get the results. And so they feel smaller. They feel smaller, and that the fact that they actually it's too big of them to ask for really what they really would like to get. And they tend to self-sabotage themselves. What also tends to happen is as we get into that kind of role that we're not good enough, again, we're not getting, we just don't feel good enough about who we are, is then we don't actually have enough money in our bank account. And then when somebody comes along, what we tend to find is that it's like, okay, somebody's here, I've got to grab them, I've got to bring them in, right? I've got to bring them in, and I've got anything that I can get. So boy, somebody's not going to pay me, $5,000-$10,000, to work with me. So I'm going to go for, $2,000, $1,500, that kind of stuff, or less, far less. And you want to stop that, right? So, but those are the things that get in their way. Typically, again, what I find is it's not strategies, because you're a smart woman. I'm going to go with that, right? That you've already done lots of research. You've asked different experts. You've worked with different coaches. You've read books. It's like, okay, how do I price myself? But really, it comes down to our mindset and really giving ourselves permission to do that, right? But, when it comes from our heart, and it comes, between the two things need to work together. Our heart and our mind, they need to work together. And when they are in combination, you're unstoppable. You are completely and 100% unstoppable. And so what we want to do is, is marry those two together, right? So you are actually doing what you need to do for yourself, right? I mean, I love working with women to get them to where they want to go, to get them to that higher level, to the potential that I see in them. And that they kind of feel is there, but they're feeling too timid. So again, it really comes down to that mindset shift that we need to make. But there's some strategic things, as I promised also. There are some very strategic steps that you need to take. And what kind of came about, how this all came about for me a little while ago, or why this particular idea for this video or for this live to do here today. Where this came from is I saw a TED Talk, and it was on LinkedIn actually, and the woman that was doing this, she talked about, her name was Casey Brown, and she talked about really how to get paid what you're worth. And so she was very kind of logical, and that's great. That's very strategic when we can do those real action steps that actually takes us further. And the steps that she went through, because what she realized is that she wasn't charging enough for herself either. Even that's what she helped her clients do, is to charge what they're worth. So she went through the process and asked a number of questions. And a couple of questions were really, what problems do I solve? So likely you've already asked that. So what kind of problem do I solve? Really what you want to narrow it down to is, what specific problem do I solve? And then really, what value do I bring my clients? How am I different? Again, my estimation, my guesstimation here is that you've probably already done this, right? What value do I bring? How am I different than anybody else, right? And what is the value you actually bring to your clients? Then the next thing, which is, I think, probably one of the most important things when you're asking these questions, what is the return on investment? So if somebody is coming to work with you, what is their return on investment? Now, sometimes you can't calculate that, right? It's so much easier to say, oh, hey, I help somebody make X amount of dollars, or I'm going to take your business, I'm going to double somebody's business, I'm going to double your business, triple your business, or I'm going to give you 10 times the value. But again, even when it comes to me, even though I've helped my clients make a lot more money in their business and or their career, it's not been uniform, right? So how do I actually measure that ROI, right? All I know is that for them, without a doubt, is that they get their money's worth back and more over time, right? Sometimes it's immediate. Like there's sometimes where I work with clients, they got off the phone, they felt so much different and better about themselves that they actually went and made a sale or made a couple of sales, or people just showed up. That's what tends to happen, is when we get clear on things, is that they tend to, all of a sudden people just show up, right? And those opportunities start to show up, and they make way more money, like within a couple of days of us actually talking. Sometimes it takes longer for some people. So, but there's other things where you may be working with somebody on their mental health, right? And so what's the return on investment in that? Might be a little bit harder. Okay, maybe they can go back to work, right? Or and maybe they have been off work, right? Or not feeling good enough in that way. So there is some return on investment. Maybe there's other things. Maybe it's their health. You're a fitness coach or something, and you're not there is not that immediate dollar amount return, right? So, but the thing is, what is that ROI? So then you kind of need to look at the third thing, which is I'm going to talk about actually owning your value. What is that impact? Because the return on investment sometimes really is that impact. What is that impact that that you're having on them, that then feeds out further and further in their life? And I'll come around to that in a moment. But in that kind of logical and very strategic process, again, in asking those questions, what problems do I solve? What value do I give? How am I different than anybody else? What's the return on investment? What I find is that, this particular woman, her name is Casey Brown. She said, okay, yeah, I did what I tell my clients to do. And I doubled my price. So that's great. But likely, again, you may have already done this. And have you doubled your price? Have you increased your price? That's kind of where the kicker is. That's what happens for a lot of people. It becomes very difficult to do. And that's where I think most women stop. Yes, we know what to do. Yes, we know we should do it. Yes, we know we have great value, but sometimes we don't believe it, and we don't take that action. So that kind of comes around full circle again, back to that self-worth, to giving themselves permission to do this. So this is the final thing, is those critical mindset shifts that you need to make. to give yourself permission to actually ask for what you want. Now, right now, you're charging a certain amount of money for your service or your product. What if you could actually just increase it by 10%? How would that feel? Would that feel a little bit better? So if you're charging $1,500, so now you're charging $1,650 instead. It's not a huge jump, right? But by doing that, by just going up in little increments, I learned this from my coach, one of my coaches a long time ago, and it makes a huge difference, because all of a sudden you kind of grow into that comfort level. But part of that, again, is coming back to owning your own value. And when you can own your own value, you, again, how do you do that? How do you actually own your own value? Well, part of it really comes down to starting to look at, okay, the impact on your clients. So what I'd like you to do is take a little bit of time, take your top, let's say you have one client, let's say you've had 5, or let's say you had lots of clients, but you're still not charging enough. Look at your top level clients, the ones that you know you provided the most, they got the most out of working with you. Well, so what impact did that have? What impact did that have on their life? And I really want you to start to write down those things, those particular qualities, those things that actually changed their life. If they wrote you a note or a testimonial, or just even if you had recorded the call, and you know that they remember that they said, "Oh, Karen, you wouldn't believe what happened." I want you to go back and listen to that, because you need to start to internalize this. And when you can internalize that, you'll start to feel better about that. So that's one thing. What did that do for their clients? But then I want you to actually to take another step out a little bit further. What did that do? Your work with that particular client and the successes that they were having, what impact did that have on their friends and their family? Let's say just their family, their immediate family right now. Were they in a better mood? Were they feeling more confident? Were they snapping at somebody before, their family members before, and now they're not. Now they're just happy, right? With their friends, were they staying away? Were they not going out with their friends? Were they not visiting with people? Were they not taking phone calls because they just kind of felt depressed and sad? But now they're actually getting out. They're connecting with their friends again. They're taking calls. They're really starting to enjoy more of their life. So think about that. And then again, take some notes, write that down. If you've had these conversations, write that down. Here's how the mind works. What we tend to do is we tend to focus on the negative things that we hear rather than the positive things. And again, that's just how we're programmed. The whole process of this is actually just to keep us safe, right? That's our subconscious mind that is really just trying to keep the status quo. And so, and when we get negative information, we focus on that. It's just a part of our mind, but we don't have to. We can actually refocus and start to do something different about that. And start to, and again, when you start to write these things down, it starts to kind of plant that in you in quite a bit of a different way. Now I'm quite a visual person, so writing actually is really good. Actually, writing also is kind of putting again your mind and your body together and kind of taking it out of the ether and putting it on paper. So that's another really good thing. That's another really good reason to do it. But then you can come back and read it. Okay. This would be something you want to read every day. As looking at increasing your prices, you want to do this. You want to look at this and go, I helped that person. Yeah, I'm better than I think I am, right? I forget these things. So do that. Now, the next step really is so you've looked at the impact on your particular client. Now the impact on their friends and family. Now you want to go out further. Now, what impact have you had with your client that now has an impact on the community? that they live in. So maybe now they can go out and spend some more money. Maybe they can now go out, now that we're kind of out of COVID in many places. Now they can go out for dinner with somebody, or they can go shopping, and that has a really great economic benefit. So you working with your clients now has a great economic benefit outside in their local community. The other thing I read a little while ago, and I forget the book, but it was by the person who actually teaches emotional freedom technique. And he talked about a study that had been done, whereas one happy person in a community can impact the whole community. And I'm not just talking about small communities, and not that these people all know them. It's just that this one happy person, and who knows how they actually did this study, but they did it. So let's go with that. But that one happy person had a huge, positive impact on their community. So again, given what's going on in the world with COVID, with politics, with racism, with all these things that we're kind of being bombarded with on social media, on the internet, on TV, and being one happy person. If you've created one happy person and they start to have an impact on their community, what is that worth, right? Because you're doing it, right? You're having an impact. You're helping. You're facilitating this, right? Now, the other person, your client, is actually, they're doing the work, and, bravo to them. But you are the one that's facilitated this. You're the one that has instigated this. So going back to the return on investment, that's a huge impact, right? So what's it going to take to get yourself out of your own way? What's it going to take? It starts with writing these things down, acknowledging yourself. Again, getting out of your own way, giving yourself permission. You don't need anybody else to do that. In fact, that's the funny thing that I find with a number of my clients, is that they actually are looking for permission from me, and they don't need my permission. But when I give them, when I actually talk to them, and and I said, well, yeah, why not? Go do that. Go try it out. And they do, because they feel now that it's okay to do that. They're not crazy, and they're not, they're not kind of being flighty. When they do that, amazing things happen, right? All of a sudden they start making more money, right? And now clients who are more in vibrational alignment with them at that level of what they're now charging, they start to show up, right? Because now when you feel, again, I talked about heart and head, right? Heart and mind. And so when we are connected, again, when our mind is actually convinced, it's like, because our mind needs proof, right? Our mind needs proof of that this can happen. So if you've seen this happen before for yourself, if you've seen anybody else do that, there's the proof, right? Me telling you that I've done this with my clients over and over and over again, there's some proof. So and when you start to write down on a piece of paper, actually write down, here's all the successes I've had with my clients. Here's the impact that it's had in for themselves, for their friends and family, for the community. That starts to be proof. Then when they start to charge more, then what happens is that, again, their mind starts to get into alignment. If your heart is already aligned and said, I really would like to charge more, and really ask yourself, how would it feel? How would it feel to be making more money? How great would it feel to charge 10% more, 20% more, 50% more, 100% more? And pay attention to how that feels, right? If it gets you excited, if you kind of feel like your heart just goes a flutter, that's telling you the truth, right? And so, and now when you have that connection between your heart and your mind, then you become very, very magnetic to anything it is that you want, right? To bringing in more clients and to having and living the life that you really truly deserve. So that in a nutshell, I mean, it's so much bigger than this, but in a nutshell, these are the things, this is what stops you. And these are the things that you can start to do to take advantage of that right now and start to change it. So just as a recap, we talked about why you don't get paid what you're worth. And again, what that comes down to is really, it's our self-worth. We feel like a fraud. We may have imposter syndrome. We tend to self-sabotage. So even when we know we could do this and we know we could charge more and we're going to do that, and the client shows up and or somebody says, yeah, I'm really interested in talking with you, but then all of a sudden you don't call them back. You don't email them. You don't send emails out to your clients or to your list. So that's self-sabotage. So again, that's why we don't get paid what we're worth. I think not even I think, I know, I see it over and over and over again. It's a mind game, right? We're mucking about with our mind and it's getting in the way, and our mind is playing games with us. So that's number one. That's why we don't get paid what we're worth. The strategic steps to take is to start asking yourself some questions, and very, the really logical questions that our mind really likes, right? So what problems do I solve? What value do I bring to my clients? And how am I different than anybody else? And what's the return on investment that I create for my client, right? So that's the thing. Those are the very specific strategic things that you can do. Then the last one is really owning your value, giving yourself permission, starting to get very clear on all the things that you do with and for your clients, okay? And the impact it has on them, their friends and family, and their community. And all the return on investment. And the return, again, doesn't need to just be economic, and it can also be mentally and emotionally, right? And it just takes one happy person in the community to change everything, right? To really just have that ripple effect. And it starts with you. So will you go out there and start raising your prices, just even by 10%? Or checking in with yourself. What is that amount that you need to move up by? And check in with yourself and really see how that feels for yourself, okay? And I would love if you would then come back and post down here or message me. I would love to hear that. I would love to hear your stories, okay? Because I know if you do these things, you start doing these things, you are on the road to getting paid what you're worth. All right, so I'm just gonna wrap up. Here's the thing. Now, there are a number of ways that you can get in touch with me. And let's just go see if I can actually just share this. I meant to have these. So some of you may have seen, I had I offered a free book on the 5 habits to how to eliminate the 5 self-sabotage habits. And so I'm actually just going to share my screen here so you can see what the page is. So there's that screen. So again, it's No Limits. Just go to No Limits Businesswoman, and I will actually see if I can come back and put that in the post here. So No Limits Businesswoman.com/5 is in the number 5 habits. Okay, that's the one thing that you can do. The other thing is, go and check me out on YouTube. It's you can search for me by Karen Luniw, and again, I'll put the link in the post as well. And I also have a really great group. There's over 1,500 women in it. They're mostly entrepreneurs, and it's called No Limits Businesswoman. It's on Facebook. the easiest way to get there is to go to sheis.me. And let me just go, I'll just type that in, sheis.me. So that's it. And when you get in there, this is what it looks like. No Limits Businesswoman. There you go. And the final thing is, if you know that you really want some help with this and you want to get started right away and find out more about what I do, go to nolimitsbusinesswoman.com/talk. And again, I'll put all these links in the post. So again, nolimitsbusinesswoman.com/talk. And you know what you'll do is you'll either there's a number of us on our calendar, so you and I might get to talk. My husband, who is absolutely amazing, likely you'll get on his calendar, or one of our other team members. And so I hope I get the opportunity to connect with you soon, find out more about you, because really, let's get you getting what you're worth. Let's get you getting paid. And I really look forward to this. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I appreciate it, and talk to you soon. See you next week. Oh, and I'm still on air. I'm just trying to finish this up. For some reason, this won't. Oh, there we go. Stop share, and off I go. Have a fabulous day.